Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are joining episode 18 of Let's Talk Immigration. And today I did not prepare anything to talk about, right? So I'll touch on the subjects I normally touch on. DV 2020, 2021, good luck. Ray, Mohammed Fong John Kennedy, Project Voyager, all the DV cases, we do not have any update since last week. As many of you know, the government had put in a letter saying, hey, we think the Supreme Court case is important and you should look at that, Mr. Circuit Court. And Jesse Bless wrote a response to that letter that said, no, that case is not analogous. And Mr. Bless is correct. And so we haven't heard anything since then. So I think the circuit court will probably find Mr. Bless's reasoning correct there. That's what I'm guessing. But we do not know when that appeal will come back. Okay, skipping on to Naveed. The government is asking for an extension of the time they have to file what's called an appendix to the administrative record. Naveed is the case that we have for spouses of U.S. citizens that are assigned to Islamabad. And we're challenging a lot of the things that are going on in Islamabad, U.S. Embassy Islamabad. So anyway, that's interesting. They've asked the judge for a extension of a deadline that the judge set. So that's kind of between them and the judge. We'll have to watch and see what the judge does. Let me see here. In my asylum seekers case, where we're challenging the ICE's release of private information of over 6,200 detainees and former detainees seeking asylum, we are working on filing a motion for class certification that I hope to file by the end of the week. Circulating it amongst the attorney team now, getting lots of great feedback. I think it's going to be a good motion. Okay, skipping to something I don't talk about that much. We have these 3 lawsuits that are big group lawsuits in the Eastern District of New York called Sonny v. Biden, Santos versus Biden, and Wilson versus Biden. All of those lawsuits are family preference categories, F2As or F1s, F3s, F4s, that are challenging the NIV prioritization scheme, Secretary Blinken's focus and prioritizing of tourist visas that's causing the other visa categories, immigrant visa categories, to not be prioritized. We're also challenging that in Naveed as well. So, but anyway, I have an update on Sonny, Santos, and Wilson. I filed what was called a third notice of change of material facts, where I brought to the Judge Kogan's attention that things are not getting better. They're getting worse. You know, at some embassies, the backlogs are going up. The visa backlog report actually jumped up to where the backlog was getting bigger. And I cited some examples of some things that are going wrong. The government has filed a response to that letter. They filed it last night. If you go to my Telegram channel or where else do we share stuff like that? Twitter, you'll see it there, or the website. In their response, they did something very annoying to me. They used 2019 as the benchmark year and said, look, we're doing better than the pre-COVID year. Well, 2019 was also a year that Trump was president, and Proclamation 9645 was in effect for the entire year. That was a presidential proclamation that prohibited immigration from Iran, Yemen, Syria, Somalia, Chad, North Korea. I'm missing one. Anyway, did I say Iran? Because that's big. Okay, so the year that they've chosen as the benchmark year is like, see, that was a normal year. That was not a normal year. Any year that Trump was president was not a normal year for immigration. So I'm hoping that one of Judge Kogan's clerks follows me on Twitter or something, or I don't know. Maybe he watches Let's Talk Immigration. There's 8 people watching now. Maybe one of them's the judge. I don't know. I hope he figures that out. So if not, and he sets a status hearing, I'd love to talk about it, but there's really not a path for me to talk about it unless there's a status hearing. Okay, so that's all that's going on in the group litigation world of Morrison Urena. We continue to retain clients to do lots of things that are not group litigation. Rafael Urena, my law partner, is pioneering a lot of work in the asylum space. So if you wish to seek asylum or you're in removal proceedings, please contact him. I continue to be focused on the Mandamus lawsuit space. That's what I enjoy doing, especially right now, Iranians stuck in AP. There's no reason to be stuck in AP. If you are stuck in AP, whether you're Iranian or not, if you're a visa applicant stuck in AP, probably need to talk to me about a Mandamus lawsuit, especially if you've been there a while. But anyway, that's what I've been up to. And of course, we are an immigration firm, so we do other representations, like for USCIS processes. If you want to petition your spouse, sibling, parent, child, give us a ring. Let us know. Okay. Now I'm going to switch to the question and answer section. So if you have not submitted your question yet, I see I already have some submitted early. Go onto YouTube or Facebook, or I think there's a space on Telegram to submit your question, and I will address it. Okay. Okay. Let's start with one from Shiza. Case category F4 siblings. Priority date October 2006. Documentarily qualified April 20th. Waiting for immigrant visa at U.S. Embassy Islamabad. Please clear the immigrant visa backlog. Shiza, to be clear, I am not a consular officer. I do not work for the U.S. Embassy. I do not work for the State Department. I'm an immigration attorney, so I can't personally clear this backlog, okay? But I am working a lot in that space to get that outcome indirectly. You could always, if this case is current, I can't, I'm not sure if October 2006 is current. I'd have to check the visa bulletin. If your case is current, you could always sue. You could do an individual mandamus lawsuit. Okay, so get with us if you want to pursue that. I would love to talk to you about it. Okay, Mustafa, DV 2021. Good luck, plaintiff. I haven't received anything from Curtis Morrison since March 2022. Is that normal? No, that's not normal. You have accidentally unsubscribed to our updates, probably. That's what's happened. So if you email me and say, I've accidentally unsubscribed, I need to be subscribed to Good Luck Updates, I will forward that to Gomez, and she will add you back on. I sent out 2 updates in the last week. Maybe before you do this, check your spam folder. I think they come from noreply@morrisonurena.com. So yeah, you can email this email address right there and say, hey, I'm a Good Luck plaintiff. I'm not getting status updates. Now, we went a long time without any news, and we just had that procedural news in the last couple of weeks that wasn't substantive. It was just a little procedural thing. Okay, that's the same question. Okay. Omar says, does that update we saw last week delay the order from the appeal court? Omar, I think you're talking about the update in the Good Luck case. I would say no. In the Gomez or Good Luck cases. Usually if a court is working on preparing an opinion for an appeal and something comes in like that, it just gives them more information to work quicker. It adds clarity more than anything. So I don't think it would slow things down. It was only, it's only 2-page long. The both letters were only take 4 pages to read them all. So I don't think it would slow anything down. Boeda says, "Hi, Mr. Morrison." Hi. I'm almost done with questions here. Okay. Daniel says, "I'm a DV 2021 winner that if we don't get the response from the judge and there's a change of government, for instance, Trump is voted into office, what happens to Good Luck lawsuit?" Great question, Daniel. And one that's possible because I hate to say this, but January 20th, 2025, it is possible that there is a Republican that is inaugurated as president. And if that happens, things will get worse for immigration very quickly, within minutes. Okay. They'll sign presidential proclamations that day that put us back into the land of the Muslim ban and the African ban and all those crazy bans. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Okay. But with respect to the Good Luck appeal, I don't think it would not affect the appeal. I mean, the judges are the same judges and they still have authority over the decision. The only way it could affect is if the government decided, if a new administration took the honorable route and decided to drop the appeal. We're not going to see that from Trump administration. Although the Trump administration did drop the first Gomez appeal. I don't know if all of you know this, but in September of 2020, I think September of 2020, the Trump administration appealed an order and then they dropped their appeal. Something the Biden administration hasn't done. But they did it for different reasons. They had their plate full. They had too much going on, Basically, Trump needs an army of lawyers just to keep him out of prison. Okay, so I've rambled about your question a little bit. It won't affect the judge's opinion of the Good Luck case. If the government loses, is it more likely to get appealed to the Supreme Court? Probably, but I don't know. I think the Biden administration may do that as well. The Biden administration has not proved to be an immigrant-friendly administration. If you're following the news this week, the White House is contemplating putting families in detention again, right? Which means kids in jail. Okay, so I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in the Biden administration to do the right thing, but Republicans would do worse. Crazy. It's the world we live in. Sheikah Cross says, "Why is it taking so long to make a decision on DV 2020-21? Okay, so you're talking about the Gomez and Good Luck appeals and Ray appeals. This is how long appeals take. The reason it's taking so long is because the Biden administration has appealed the orders where we won, right? DV 2020 is done. Like, we won summary judgment. DV 2021, Good Luck, is a little different situation. We still haven't won summary judgment, but we did win injunctive relief. And so the reason it's taking so long is the Biden administration. That's the answer. Mohammed Kudreth asked, DV 2020, why is it taking so long for the judgment? Oh, okay. Now this is, it's not taking so long for the appeals. It feels like it, but appeals take a long time. Okay. I want to caution everyone against blaming the court for these delays, because the court is not causing the delays. The court is your salvation. The court is the path to getting what we want. The court is not responsible for the delays. Okay, so that's the Biden administration. Beta YT says, hello, Curtis. Hope you're well. I am well, Beetle YT. Okay. Muhammad says, what happens if the judgment comes on our favor for DV 2020? Okay, I think DV 2020 Gomez, I think there's 4 or 5. I think there's 4 issues in appeal, and you're saying in your favor, you're saying all 4 issues are in our favor. What does the government lawyers do? They can again challenge this decision. The government lawyers can appeal a decision if it's against them. First, they could appeal it to the full panel of the DC Circuit, or they could ask the Supreme Court to hear it. Usually they do the full panel first, as I understand it. That's a right that we have as plaintiffs too, okay? So if the government wins something and we feel that the court is not made the correct decision, we could also potentially appeal it to the Supreme Court. This is the way the system works. There's the district court, there's the Circuit Court of Appeals, and there's the Supreme Court. If you're not happy with the district court opinion, either the loser can appeal to the Circuit Court of Appeals. If the loser of the Circuit Court of Appeals is not happy with that decision, they can appeal to the Supreme Court. The only thing that's unique in this whole situation is the Supreme Court does not have to hear an appeal. In fact, they hear very few appeals. I forget. I think it's like 100 a year out of thousands that are asked. They are asked. They're very picky. They only want to hear certain appeals. Beetle says, any chance the backlog squeezes in the squeezes? In the Islamabad embassy, are they stretching the backlog intentionally in Islamabad? I'm not going to speculate about the intentions of, well, I think I already have in the complaint in the David lawsuit, because I call it the Secretary Blinken's understaffing scheme. So, but the impacts, there's no question that the embassy is currently understaffed. They've actually disclosed that in a recent filing. Is it understaffed on purpose? In my view, yes, because it's the United States of America. If they wanted to have it staffed, they could have it staffed. So much for me not speculating. I think that it is intentional. How about that? But whether or not it's intentional or not doesn't change anything, does it? Maybe in court. Omar asked, why in fiscal year 21 you thought suing embassies is a bad step, but we saw in fiscal year 2022 was very successful and you did it. I'm still a little weird about suing embassies because the law is not on our side. Now you're saying, oh, you did it in 2022 and it was very successful. Name a 2022 lawsuit where DVs were plaintiffs that was victorious, because across the board, those cases were not successful in court. Now, did they cause State Department to change their policies radically to accommodate almost everything we wanted? Yes. But under case law, you have an uphill battle when you're suing embassies directly. Now, let's take the Naveed case where we're suing Secretary Blinken, but we also have a couple defendants that are at, I think the chief of mission at U.S. Embassy Islamabad. We threw them on as plaintiffs because we're trying to figure out who is making these decisions to deprioritize immigrant visas, okay? But notice in that case, our lead plaintiff is Secretary Blinken. It's my pretty much philosophy and our point of view that the decisions that cause people the most problems come from the top, because consular officers are good people. They wouldn't cause you problems like this if they were in charge. They're not in charge. People at the Office of Legal Advisor have a lot of influence. Other offices at the Bureau of Consular Affairs have a lot of influence. So some of those people were important during the Trump administration, like Assistant Secretary Edward Ramatowski, who I think has been removed from his position, but I don't know if he's still at the State Department. So you have some people that were in the Trump administration. They were so happy because they were like every day they were coming up with new ways to restrict the flow of immigration and throttle immigration. And a lot of them, they haven't been fired. They're still there. So that's why we're still seeing some bad things. Okay. I've rambled a little bit, but I hope that you feel like I answered that question. Yusuf says, hello, Mr. Morrison. How is everything going? Oh, everything. I don't know. That's a big question because everything encompasses a lot, right? United States has a lot of issues going on right now. A lot of issues going on in Ukraine and Russia and Iran. And I don't know. Don't ask me about everything. I'm not feeling good about everything, okay? It's better to focus on the things that we see that are good. The sun is out today. Okay. Abdikani says, we are tired. What is going on in this Judges 2023 is going to finish. Okay. You haven't not identified yourself as a plaintiff, but I'm going to guess that you're a DV 2020 or good luck plaintiff. And as I said earlier, we're not blaming the judges because the Biden administration appealed an order. That's not the judge's fault. Okay. Beetle YT says, sorry for this funny name. Couldn't find funnier. Face blue smiling. Face blue smiling is pretty funny. In fact, I might change my name to that. Face blue smiling. You know what he did there? He went to copy paste to an emoticon or something. I don't know. DV 2020 E20 2021 Quel sont de nouveau? I think, is that Espanol or Francais? I think it's Francais. Rien. Nothing. No. No news. No nouveau. No nouveau. Lo siento. Je regrette. No news. Okay. Daniel says, are immigrants a threat in a way to the U.S.? No. Immigrants add value to the U.S. economically, culturally, in every way. I don't understand why government attorneys should restrict so strongly to oppose DV selectees from getting a legal access to the U.S. I don't understand it either, but I would say that there are some government attorneys that really enjoy it. Okay, like they get into it. But I don't know how they find jobs when they leave the government, because what are they going to put on their resume? I spent 4 years fighting immigrants. It's like, I mean, who's going to hire them? You know, pretty weird. Definitely not one of the startups that are the biggest proportion of growing jobs in the U.S. that are immigrant owned, right? I would hope that an immigrant owned CEO is not hiring former government attorneys that fought immigrants. I hope not. Okay. Vito YT says, so wait and see is the best policy since I am DQ'd March 22. It's frustrating since I can't kick off a startup here in Pakistan. Oh, see, we're just talking about startups in Pakistan and unable to move to the USA in nearing time. That is frustrating. I don't know if that's the best policy for you or not, because I don't know all your facts. You're assuming that I have this photographic memory, and I do not. I write a lot of things down. I carry a clipboard with paper and write things down all the time so I don't forget them. So maybe a Mandamus lawsuit might be right for you if you're not already a plaintiff in a lawsuit. Why don't you message me about that? Okay. Oh no, we have another language here. And it won't let me. I want to copy that and translate it, but it won't let me. Maybe somebody on my team can figure out how to do that, because I don't know I only know English and a little poco español, un petit de français. Okay. Here's one. We are 2020. We got an invitation for an interview, but because of COVID, the interview was canceled. Well, it was not canceled just because of COVID. It was canceled because of proclamations by a president that was trying to stop immigration. That's why we won the lawsuit. Okay, we were not invited again. It's been 3 years. We are still waiting. The question is how long? Of course, you were not. Right. Embassy is not going to invite you to an interview until the Gomez appeal prevails, until we beat the Biden administration in the Gomez appeal. We do not know how long it will be. It's impossible to know. We hope it is soon. Omar says, please tell people to not contact judges or court. Please, Mr. Morrison. While we are suffering, they will destroy everything. Warn them. Thank you for bringing this up, Omar, because I've been thinking about that a lot. I am worried, especially when I see DVs come into the U.S. a lot on student visas and visitor visas. I'm worried that somebody is going to mess things up and try to reach out to the judges or clerks or courts or the government attorneys. Do not do that. That is strictly forbidden. And that does have the potential to sabotage all of our progress. So Omar is absolutely right. I'm so glad that he brought this up. Do not contact judges or courts. This isn't if you're in any lawsuit where we represent you, do not contact the judge directly, ever. I have somebody that tries to do it like every few months. It's part of having a lot of clients, and I get very upset. Do not do that. Okay. Ahmed says, courts have generally found that AP delays in excess of 5 years are unreasonable. It sounds like something a government attorney would write. While those between 3 to 5 years are often not. Do you think a writ of mandamus before 1 year of AP would be effective? Okay, let's talk about this. I wish I had this question before so that I could do a PowerPoint presentation. The courts that have generally found that AP delays in excess of 5 years are unreasonable are looking at delays of adjustment of status, asylum, immigration benefits for people that are residing within the safety and security of the United States with their families. Okay? Those cases that the government argues are analogous are not cases where the plaintiffs are residing in Afghanistan, hiding from the Taliban, or from Iran, where women can't go out without hijab, or China, Russia, all the problems going on in the world. Those delays don't take those into account. So the individual situations, in my view, not my view, in the law, are quite different. Judges, the way they determine unreasonable delay, whether delay is unreasonable or not, is they look at a lawsuit called TRAC, telecommunications something, short name is TRAC. And one of the factors in TRAC compares the hardship and the competing priorities. And they're quite different when the visa applicant, when the person that wants an immigration benefit is in a place like Yemen and or someplace where they're being persecuted or something crazy. Very different situation than when it's somebody that's living in Connecticut. Okay, very different. So I do not think that those analogies. Every time I see that argument, it just drives me nuts. There was a judge in one of our early cases, Puzesh, also known as Montagetti, in the Eastern District of California. and this judge retired actually, and it was one of his last opinions. And he was the chief judge for the Eastern District of California. And he said, "Oh, the government says that APD delays in excess of 5 years unreasonable." And he went through the 20 cases that they were pointing out and showed that every one of those cases was different. Okay, that they were people that were waiting inside the safety and security of the U.S. So I don't buy that. In my view, you file a writ of mandamus not based on whether or not you're right on the law, but based upon what the outcome will be. And the indirect outcome of filing a writ of mandamus over 90% of the time is action on behalf of the defendants on your desired immigration benefit. So the indirect benefit, it's an indirect benefit business, basically. We file writs of mandamus so the government will dismiss lawsuits, will give you what you want so we can dismiss the lawsuit. We're not trying to go before a judge for a trial in a mandamus lawsuit because there's this adverse case law where we get to argue. I mean, I've got strong arguments against it, but it's a lot easier for the government to just give us what we want. And that's what happens, not every time, but most times. If you're in AP, oh my gosh, you said it before, a year of AP. If you're in AP for 1 day, I say file a writ of mandamus because the delay is unreasonable, okay? AP, what you're talking about in most situations is someone in Washington, D.C., perhaps a contractor with Quality Support, Inc., just guessing, needs to push a couple buttons on a keyboard to do national security vetting and take those up against those 7 answers to the 7 questions. And it takes like 3 minutes. So why are we saying a year is reasonable? That's crazy. Like 1 day, in my view, is reasonable. But I think you should hire us the day you go into AP so that we can be prepared to file that complaint within 30 days. That's my point of view on that question. I'm really glad you asked the question, though, Ahmad. Very glad. Lots of questions today. Shika says, maybe our case can help win the trial, DV 2020. We already had the trial for DV 2020. It's called summary judgment, and we won it. Now we're at a different place. I know these words are confusing. We're past that. Now we're at a place where the government is appealing our victory. And so we're trying to beat the appeal. Okay, so we got a translation for the earlier question from the Lingala language. It's not even our fault. It's the epidemic came. You judge only just of God. Thank you, Gomez. No, it's not your fault. I agree. But it's also not the pandemic's fault that the Trump administration put into place and the Biden administration put into place policies whose goal was to throttle immigration, particularly from people from the global South, Africa, and the Middle East. Okay, don't blame that on the pandemic. That was President Donald Trump and President Joseph Biden. Secretary Blinken, you deserve some credit there too. Okay, Omar says, oh, everybody's texting me. Okay, Omar says, appeal court orders are during job time or like court anytime the judge can order and come out like Judge Mehta. Every day we're waiting. So is there specific hours to wait or there isn't? I saw where DV actually did a spreadsheet on this. And I found it was interesting because he did see patterns where usually orders come on, I can't remember, Mondays or Fridays or something, but they can do what they want. Okay. So they could issue them on Saturday or Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, any day they want. So let's not worry about that. Daniel says, Mr. Curtis, please stop with Raphael. It's been a while. He just doesn't enjoy looking at his face on the screen as much as me, maybe. I don't know. He should. He's handsome. But anyway, it's a question for him. Okay, so I have a suggestion from my team that I look at the visa bulletin for March. So we've got a little bit of time. So let me do what my team suggests because they usually know what's going on. So the family preference category visa bulletin is not moving. Is there anything we can do about that? No. Hopefully, once we make progress with our lawsuits challenging the NOV prioritization scheme. You know, these lawsuits, Naveed, Sonny, Santos, and Wilson, yes, their goal is to benefit the plaintiffs in the lawsuits. But if we take away these policies that are restricting immigration to the U.S., that will allow the visa bulletin to move, right? So I appreciate all the people that realize that are not plaintiffs, that are cheerleaders. Thank you. Another thing you can do if you're a petitioner in the U.S. is contact your member of Congress and say, why is the State Department throttling immigration? You know, that would be nice. Let me scroll down and see what's going on with DV 2023s, because I'm sure we've got a DV 2023 watcher or something. So these are the cutoffs in March. So, and these are the cutoffs in April. So if your DV number is 2023 NA14, your number still is not current because they're only taking the first 13. So most case numbers in Africa are current now, except for, it looks like they're beating up on Egypt, Algeria, and Morocco, mostly Egypt. Iran case numbers look like they're being beat up on too. Only the first 5,500 are current in April. Nepal, they're beating up on them. So, and Russia, I don't know if I've seen Russia and Uzbekistan there before, but all their cases are not current. They've got like another restriction besides what the region restriction is. So the visa bulletin, this is an opportunity I need to say something. DV 2023 selectees, if you're watching this, just because your case becomes current does not mean you're scheduled for an interview. What that means is you have cleared the first hurdle. The next hurdle is getting an interview slot from your embassy. And those are a little tricky because the way they happen is every month the embassy gives the number of slots to the Kentucky Consular Center, and the Kentucky Consular Center allegedly fills those slots in order of what's called the AV status rank. And that is when your DS-260 was processed, not when it was submitted, but when it was processed. Now, are DS-260s processed in order? Nobody knows. I don't think so. So that's it's a little difficult to guess when you will be scheduled or whether you will be scheduled as a DV selectee. It's almost like you won a lottery and then you're in a lottery to see if you really won a lottery. It's a little frustrating the way it's set up. So, Sheikha said, come to Kyrgyzstan to relax. We will meet you here. We will have a wonderful time. Wonderful Lake Issyk. That sounds fun. I wish I could do that. But next thing I'm going to talk about, today I am mailing off my renewal for my U.S. passport. So I cannot leave the country for the next 5 weeks because I will not have a passport. So maybe after that comes back. I wanted to talk about that because many of you are visa applicants that are awaiting an interview, or you've had your interview and you're waiting, coming out of AP, and your passports have expired, or no, they have expired, or will expire within the next 6 months. And I wanted to remind everybody that the U.S. State Department will not issue a visa and a passport that expires in the next 6 months. So if you are one of the DV 2020 or the good luck plaintiffs, and you're waiting and waiting for the Court of Appeals to issue their opinion, I am hoping that you are also renewing your passport if you can, because now is a good time to do that. When is not a good time to do that? After you go to the interview and the consular officer looks at your passport and says, oh, there's not 6 months of validity. Sorry, I can't issue you a visa. That's not a good time to realize that you have a problem. So if you're watching today and your passport expires within the next year, go get that baby renewed. Get you a new passport. That's my advice for the day. A couple more questions. Now I'm wrapping up early. Sam says, how's the lawsuit going against ISB embassy? I don't know which embassy is ISB. I think you're thinking ISL. You're thinking of Islamabad, and that's the Naveed case. I covered that at the very beginning if you wanted to scroll back to that. But interesting procedural development in the last couple of days. And you can go to our website and see that, or scroll back. Mr. Robot. Hello, Mr. Robot. I was wondering if you have any information regarding the number of immediate relatives waiting for an interview at U.S. Embassy I think you're saying Islamabad, and whether the embassy is expediting the process. Immediate relatives waiting. Well, I know that number went up from June of 2022 to October of when's the last time they disclosed it? They disclosed it in our Naveed case like a month ago, and that number has gone up. So it's more than 5,000. I actually don't know the exact number. Okay. I don't think anybody does unless they work at the State Department. And whether the embassy is expediting the process. No, the embassy is not expediting the process. I can't say that U.S. Embassy Islamabad is doing anything good right now. Sorry. Sam says his wife is waiting for an interview there as well since June 6th. You've only been DQ'd June 6th of this year. You might consider trying to move your wife to another country with a functioning U.S. embassy, because you've got a long wait ahead. Or you could hire us for a Mandamus lawsuit for an unreasonable delay. That's another option. And we're wrapping up early. So thank you, everybody, for stopping by. And we'll see you next week on episode 19 of Let's Talk Immigration. Thanks.